While practicing in cooking class, Se-bin's partner answers a phone call and fails to notice a kitchen knife falling from the table. Fortunately, Do-hyun reacts instantly and catches the blade with his bare hand.
괜찮아?
What Se-bin does not know is that this seemingly harmless middle-aged man was once an incredibly powerful underworld boss. Do-hyun has no idea either that the fragile and innocent young woman who deliberately approached him is planning to take his life. The reason they are both hiding their true identities begins with something that happened not long ago. One night, Man-gil, the leader of Do-hyun's former criminal syndicate, is involved in a serious car accident, with his life slipping away. Man-gil clearly tells his men that the person he wants to inherit the organization is Do-hyun, his former second-in-command who recently retired. Do-hyun had once been Man-gil's most trusted man, but after his mother passed away from an illness, he grew tired of the endless violence of the underworld and left the organization without hesitation. All he wanted was to calm his mind and live an ordinary life. But no one can walk through the underworld forever without eventually getting dragged back in. Because of Man-gil's final request, Aegu, Do-hyun's fiercely loyal right-hand man, soon shatters his peaceful new life. When Do-hyun learns that the boss who once promoted him has died, he feels genuine grief and regret, but he has no intention of taking over the organization because he knows it would pull him into a deadly power struggle. Besides, the quiet and stable life he has now feels more comfortable than anything he has ever experienced. Seeing how firmly Do-hyun refuses, Aegu has no choice but to return and report his decision, determined to completely change his life. Do-hyun soon signs up for a cooking class. His assigned partner is a young woman named Se-bin. The moment Do-hyun sees her cold, melancholy expression, he finds himself drawn to her mysterious presence. Since he is naturally clumsy in the kitchen, Se-bin's patient guidance quickly makes him develop a soft spot for her. Se-bin also notices that Do-hyun is constantly sneaking glances at her. After studying together for some time, Se-bin realizes that Do-hyun simply cannot make anything that tastes good. She knows perfectly well that he was never meant to become a chef, but she cannot bring herself to give up on him, so she continues teaching him whenever he struggles. Looking at this awkward yet sincere middle-aged man, Se-bin begins to believe that he must be a genuinely good person. She gradually lowers her guard and tries her best to help him improve his cooking skills. For Do-hyun, who only wants to disappear from the criminal world, her kindness brings a warmth and comfort he has never felt before. But he has no idea that behind Se-bin's careful attention lies a deadly purpose. Every night, Se-bin secretly visits an abandoned warehouse alone. There, she assembles different weapons and pieces of equipment, making every possible preparation to assassinate Do-hyun. Se-bin was once an exceptionally talented competitive shooter, but after her coach accepted a huge bribe and secretly manipulated a competition, she was left carrying a massive debt of 70 million won. At first, Se-bin and her best friend Eun-young still managed to remain optimistic, but the Audi loan sharks soon delivered their final warning. Unless the women repaid everything within 1 week, they would be taken away and sold to cover the debt. There was only one way to erase what they owed. Se-bin had to quietly eliminate Do-hyun. The loan sharks never explained the reason directly, but Se-bin was smart enough to suspect that Do-hyun was involved in some kind of conflict over money and power. The people behind the order could not act themselves, so they forced Se-bin and Eun-young to carry out the hit. With no other way to survive, Se-bin accepts the assassination mission. That is why she deliberately approaches Do-hyun through the cooking class. After every meeting with him, Se-bin writes a detailed report and hands it to the loan shark responsible for supervising her. The gang believes that once Se-bin has learned Do-hyun's routine and movements, the assassination will be impossible to fail. But one unexpected problem after another soon begins to appear. One night, Se-bin is eating a late-night meal with Do-hyun when her phone receives several urgent messages from Eun-young. At first, Se-bin does not pay much attention to them, but the moment she stands up to go find her friend, she suddenly realizes that something is wrong. Afraid that Eun-young has been threatened by the gang again and may be trying to kill Do-hyun on her own, Se-bin hurriedly turns back. Sure enough, Eun-young is already speeding toward Do-hyun in a car. Intending to run him down. To Se-bin's shock, Do-hyun suffers only minor injuries. He even tries to drag Eun-young out of the car and question her. To stop the assassination plot from being exposed, Se-bin quickly intervenes. She claims that Do-hyun urgently needs medical attention, giving Eun-young a chance to escape. But Do-hyun has no intention of letting the incident go. He quietly memorizes the license plate number, ignoring Se-bin's concern and attempts to stop him. He finds Ae-gu and orders him to investigate the vehicle. Do-hyun wants to know who is so determined to kill him. He then returns to the headquarters of his former syndicate, planning to search for the mastermind from within the organization. Knowing that his cooking skills are still terrible, Do-hyun personally prepares an entire table of food for the senior members. He greets them politely, but every word he says carries a hidden edge. One hot-tempered senior member resents Do-hyun's commanding attitude. He publicly complains that the food is too salty and warns Do-hyun not to overestimate his position, since the man chooses to provoke him first. Do-hyun uses the opportunity to make an example out of him and re-establish his authority.
인내도 모르고 의리도 없네. 너냐? 만길 형님 제낀 게 이거 뭔데 지금?
Just as the confrontation is about to spiral out of control, one of the organization's elders steps in. He argues that Do-hyun already left the syndicate and therefore has no right to inherit Man-gil's position. According to him, the organization should instead be handed to its ambitious third-ranking member, Dak Kyung-min. In front of every senior leader, Do-hyun burns the succession document left behind by Man-gil. He says he does not care who becomes the new boss. What matters now is discovering who really killed their former leader. None of the elders can argue with that. Once the hot-tempered senior realizes that Do-hyun has no interest in taking control, he secretly approaches him and reveals a clue he has uncovered. He suspects that Man-gil was killed because he discovered a hidden operation inside the organization. Several senior members had been secretly delivering political donations in exchange for protection from powerful officials. With that protection, the syndicate could break the law and profit without fear of consequences. To keep the operation running smoothly, the elders also worked with an outside assassination agency. Under the name of cleaning up problems, the agency eliminated anyone who discovered the truth or interfered with the plan. If the theory is correct, then Do-hyun's determination to investigate Man-gil's death will eventually make him a target as well. Although there is still no solid evidence, the senior member repeatedly warns Do-hyun to remain careful. But the more someone prepares for danger, the more quickly it seems to arrive. Not long after the senior member leaves, an assassin breaks in and attacks Do-hyun. Fortunately, Do-hyun is already on guard and narrowly survives. But after he escapes, Ae-gu arrives with terrible news. The senior member who just met with Do-hyun has already been silenced. Ae-gu also discovers that the car used to attack Do-hyun that night did not belong to their syndicate. The unusual clues all point toward the same conclusion. The organization's elders and an outside assassination agency are working together. Do-hyun orders Ae-gu to uncover the entire conspiracy as quickly as possible. But before that, he gives Ae-gu another priority. He wants him to find Se-bin, who has been unreachable for several days. Do-hyun has been worried about her. The request leaves Ae-gu completely confused. The man he has always admired for being decisive and ruthless has rarely shown this much concern for an outsider. But Do-hyun still does not know that Se-bin, the woman he is desperate to find, is about to carry out the mission to kill him. Several days later, the police recover a car from a river. Se-bin immediately rushes to the scene. Eun-young's body is nowhere to be found. Se-bin assumes that the gang must have abducted her and is holding her somewhere. She confronts the loan shark supervising her and demands the truth. Under pressure, he lies and claims that Do-hyun killed Eun-young. Before Se-bin can question him further, one of his men suddenly raises a gun and attacks her. At the critical moment, Se-bin's former coach, Coach Yuk, throws himself in the way and risks his life to save her. At the same time, an assassin known only as K arrives to collect supplies for another assignment. Wanting to learn whether the loan shark was telling the truth, Se-bin follows K to meet Madame Khan, the head of the assassination agency. Madame Khan wants to prevent any unexpected complications. Without revealing the truth, She firmly insists that Do Hyun was the man who killed Eun Young. The trusting Se-bin believes her. Now burdened by both her enormous debt and the desire to avenge her best friend, Se-bin becomes determined to assassinate Do Hyun. Under K's careful arrangement, Se-bin sneaks into an office building and sets up a sniper rifle. Across the street, Do Hyun is staying in a hotel. Through the scope, Se-bin watches him clumsily practicing his cooking day after day. The ordinary warmth surrounding him makes it impossible for her to pull the trigger. She cannot stop wondering whether Do Hyun truly killed Eun Young, but because she is still being threatened, Se-bin raises the rifle again that night. Just as she is about to fire, fireworks suddenly bloom across the sky. Do Hyun immediately picks up his phone. Before Se-bin can understand what he is doing, her own phone begins ringing. It is obvious that Do Hyun is calling because he wants her to come outside and watch the fireworks. Seeing how innocent and kind he is, Se-bin suddenly remembers every moment they have shared since meeting. After a painful internal struggle, she still cannot pull the trigger. The emotional pressure leaves Se-bin physically exhausted. After leaving the building, she develops a high fever. Before losing consciousness, she sends Do Hyun a message asking to meet him. She wants to discover whether the man hiding from everyone truly killed Eun Young. When Do Hyun finds Se-bin unconscious, he immediately carries her back to his home. At the suggestion of a doctor friend, he changes her out of her wet clothes. Wanting to take proper care of her, Do Hyun wakes up early the next morning and begins preparing breakfast before Se-bin gets out of bed. Looking at this gentleman, Se-bin feels a warmth she has never experienced before. Her feelings for him finally begin to take root. She also begins to believe that Do Hyun may not be the person who killed Eun Young. Although Se-bin decides to spare him, the people controlling her have no intention of allowing that. Because she has delayed the assignment for too long, they decide to deal with Do Hyun themselves. To make sure Se-bin is not accidentally caught in the attack, they send her a warning message. Se-bin assumes they will not act so quickly, but when she wakes up on the couch that night, she notices a red laser beam entering through the window. She instantly pulls Do Hyun into her arms, realizing how awkward the situation looks. Se-bin quickly pushes him away and rushes to close the curtains, while Do Hyun is still completely confused. Ae-gu rings the doorbell and announces that he has uncovered important information. To prevent the atmosphere from becoming even more uncomfortable, Se-bin says she is going downstairs for some air. In reality, she heads toward the building across the street, hoping to stop the attackers. Once Se-bin leaves, Ae-gu tells Do Hyun everything he has discovered. The warning from the murdered senior member was correct. The syndicate's elders had been making political payments in exchange for power and protection. They wanted Kyungmin to become the next boss because he could be used as their puppet, allowing them to control the entire organization from behind the scenes. Man-gil was eliminated because he discovered the conspiracy. That was also the real reason he named Do Hyun as his successor before dying. He hoped Do Hyun would stop the elders before their greed destroyed the organization completely. Ae-gu also explains Se-bin's strange behavior. Because of her enormous debt, she was forced to approach Do Hyun and look for a chance to quietly eliminate him. But after Eun Young suddenly appeared and tried to run him over, Do Hyun became alert. Now that Eun Young has disappeared, Se-bin naturally suspects that Do Hyun killed her. Only after hearing the complete truth does Do Hyun realize that Se-bin has been deceived from the beginning. But before he can think of a solution, another crisis begins. Across the street, Se-bin holds the lone shark gunman at gunpoint to stop them from killing Do Hyun. While the two sides face each other, K suddenly appears like a ghost. The loan sharks are currently under the control of Madame Kang's assassination agency. When one of them attempts to fight back and threatens to ruin the operation, K shoots him first. K then warns Se-bin that she must personally kill Do Hyun. If she fails the mission, the agency will hunt her down. With that, he immediately disappears. Meanwhile, as Do Hyun stands near the window thinking, Ae-gu notices something unusual inside the building across the street. Believing that a sniper is preparing to shoot Do Hyun, Ae-gu rushes out to investigate. But the moment he leaves, men disguised as repair workers break into the apartment and prepare to kill Do Hyun.
경민이가 보냈냐? 인사라도 좀 하지.
When Aegu reaches the opposite building, he realizes the sniper position was only a distraction. Fortunately, Se-bin does not stop him from going back. Although Kay has given her a direct order, she still cannot bring herself to kill Do-hyun. Instead, she openly disobeys the assassination agency and helps Do-hyun survive the attack. With Se-bin and Aegu protecting him, Do-hyun narrowly escapes once again. Do-hyun understands that Se-bin has now become a fugitive. To stop the killers from hunting her, he decides that he may have to sacrifice himself. He approaches Kyungmin and offers a deal. The police have already uncovered evidence of bribery, and several members of the organization are dead. Do-hyun is willing to take the blame for everything and become their scapegoat. In return, they must leave Se-bin alone. Because of their long history and the need to protect the elders from investigation, Kyungmin has no reason to reject the offer. The police soon issue a warrant for Do-hyun. By taking Se-bin's place, he begins an endless life on the run. But before Do-hyun leaves, Aegu reveals that Eun-young is still alive. She was not killed. Madam Kang's organization sold her to human traffickers. To clear up the misunderstanding with Se-bin, Do-hyun decides to rescue Eun-young first. Using a tracking device secretly placed inside Se-bin's phone, Do-hyun finds her while she is hiding. He proposes that after they rescue Eun-young, the four of them should leave the country together. Do-hyun, Se-bin, Eun-young, and Aegu can go to Thailand and open a restaurant. With nowhere else to go, Se-bin immediately agrees. But just as they begin imagining a new life, a bullet suddenly tears through the car window. Kyungmin may have accepted Do-hyun's deal, but the elders behind him did not. As far as they are concerned, Do-hyun knows too much about the syndicate's crimes and will always remain a threat. To eliminate this ticking time bomb, the senior elder contacts Madam Kang and orders her agency to kill Do-hyun. Faced with the sudden attack, Do-hyun does not panic. After making a quick adjustment, he drives the car into an open field. Calmly, he tells Se-bin that he has survived situations like this countless times before. As long as she stays with him, she does not need to be afraid. But almost as soon as Do-hyun finishes reassuring her, Kay catches up with them. A fierce chase begins. Do-hyun's exceptional driving skills allow them to temporarily escape, but Se-bin's arm is still grazed during the attack. Do-hyun has barely finished bandaging her wound when the relentless Kay appears again. When the injured Se-bin still tries to protect him, Do-hyun grabs the gun from her hand. Without showing a trace of fear, he turns and confronts Kay himself. While Kay is temporarily unable to continue the chase, Do-hyun immediately drives Se-bin away. They reach a safe house. Do-hyun tells Se-bin to rest and recover while he goes to rescue Eun-young. But despite all his preparation, Kay reaches Eun-young first and takes her from the traffickers. He then calls Se-bin. Kay warns her that if she wants Eun-young to remain alive, she must bring Do-hyun to the location he gives her. He leaves the address and hangs up. Following the clues, Do-hyun soon reaches one of the traffickers' hideouts. Although Se-bin has not yet arrived, Kay raises his gun and prepares to kill Do-hyun immediately. At the last possible moment, Se-bin suddenly calls.
내가 죽일게.
그 말을 내가 믿을 것 같아?
어차피 죽일 거잖아.
죽어야 하니까.
내 손으로 하고 싶어.
Se-bin is an exceptional shooter. She can eliminate a target without leaving any obvious evidence. To prevent Madam Kang's organization from being exposed, Kay agrees to Se-bin's request. By the time Do-hyun enters the building, Kay has already disappeared. A short time later, Do-hyun is told to meet Se-bin at a field of blue salt flats. With Kay watching through a sniper scope from far away, Se-bin suddenly turns around and raises her gun.
소음기가 없네.
아저씨. 미안.
She personally pulls the trigger and shoots Do Hyun. Se-bin then looks directly toward K's position. She throws the gun into the salt flats, finally freeing herself from the assignment and the assassination agency's pursuit. 3 years pass. Se-bin has become more mature and is no longer the melancholy young woman she once was. She and In-young now have a completely new life. More importantly, Do Hyun and Ae-gu are living there with them. It turns out that Se-bin volunteered to kill Do Hyun because, as a former competitive shooter, she had developed a special kind of salt bullet. The projectile was made from a substance similar to ice or salt that could eventually be absorbed by the human body. Once the bullet entered the body, the special tip would dissolve. The method was still extremely dangerous, but Do Hyun had roughly a 50% chance of surviving. Before Do Hyun left the trafficker's hideout, he had already noticed K's shadow on the ground and realized the assassin was watching from the roof. K's behavior made Do Hyun understand that he only intended to monitor him and Se-bin. So when Se-bin raised the gun, Do Hyun immediately understood her plan. He played along and pretended to die, convincing K that the assassination had succeeded. After narrowly surviving, the four of them begin a new life together on a small island, and that brings the entire film to an end. This is the 2011 South Korean crime action drama Hindsight, also known by its literal title, Blue Salt. It is one of the more overlooked films starring Song Kang-ho, one of South Korea's most acclaimed actors. The original story can feel somewhat disorganized, and several plot points are not explained clearly enough, which may leave some viewers confused. But with Song Kang-ho's powerful screen presence and the youthful Shin Se-kyung, I still believe the movie is worth watching. After its release, some viewers even jokingly described it as the Korean version of Lion, The Professional, giving the film even more attention. The international title Hindsight also reflects one of the story's central ideas. That is all for today's movie. I'll see you in the next recap.